Hello viewers, welcome to Big Man Business YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about wheat. Before we proceed, let's highlight the salient points in this video. Wheat is a grass widely cultivated for its seed, a cereal grain that is a worldwide staple food. The wheat plant has long slender leaves and stems that are hollow in most varieties. The nutritional composition of the wheat grain varies somewhat with differences in climate and soil. On average, the kernel contains 12% water, 70% carbohydrates, 12% protein, 2% fat, 1.8% minerals, and 2.2% crude fibers. China is the world's largest producer of wheat with 126 million metric tons, followed by India with an average of 98,510,000 tons annually. Russia is third in terms of wheat cultivation with an average of 85,863,132 tons per annum, followed by the United States and France respectively. In terms of wheat consumption globally, Egypt, Indonesia, Turkey, China, and Nigeria are the largest consumer of the commodity. Egypt, Brazil, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Algeria, Japan, Morocco, and Mexico are the top importers of the commodity, while the three biggest wheat exporters, which are Russia, United States, and Canada, provide almost half or 45.8% of the overall value of exports for the nourishing cereal food. As of the time of making this video, the average value of the commodity is around $170.12 per metric ton. If you're new to the Big Man Business YouTube channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive updates on new business expert videos. For more international business news and updates, please visit www.bigmanbusiness.com. Now let's get to the main topic of today. Wheat is a grass widely cultivated for its seed, a cereal grain that is a worldwide staple food. The wheat plant has long slender leaves and stems that are hollow in most varieties. The nutritional composition of the wheat grain varies somewhat with differences in climate and soil. On average, the kernel contains 12% water, 70% carbohydrates, 12% protein, 2% fat, 1.8% minerals, and 2.2% crude fibers. Thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and small amounts of vitamin A are present, but the milling processes removes most of those nutrients with the bran and germ. Wheat is an important source of carbohydrates. Globally, it is the leading source of vegetable protein in human food, having a protein content of about 13%, which is relatively high compared to other major cereals but relatively low in protein quality for supplying essential amino acids. When eaten as the whole grain, wheat is a source of multiple nutrients and dietary fiber. Most wheat used for food requires processing. The grain is cleaned and then conditioned by the addition of water so that the kernel breaks up properly. In milling, the grain is cracked and then passed through a series of rollers. As the smaller particles are sifted out, the coarser particles pass to other rollers for further reduction. About 72% of the milled grain is recovered as white flour. Flour made from the whole kernel is called graham flour and becomes rancid with prolonged storage because of the germ oil content retained. White flour, which does not contain the germ, preserves longer. Inferior and surplus wheats and various milling byproducts are used for livestock feeds. The greatest portion of the wheat flour produced is used for bread making. Kinds of wheat grown in dry climates are generally hard types, having a protein content of 11 to 15% and strong gluten, which is an elastic protein. The hard type produces flour best suited for bread making. The kinds of wheat of humid areas are softer, with a protein content of about 8 to 10% and weak gluten. The softer type of wheat produces flour suitable for cakes, crackers, cookies and pastries, and household flours. Durum wheat semolina obtained from the endosperm is used for making pastas, or alimentary pastes. In a small part of the general population, gluten, which is the major part of wheat protein, can trigger celiac disease, noncoeliac gluten sensitivity, gluten ataxia, and dermatitis herpetiformis. World trade in wheat is greater than for all other crops combined. In 2017, world production of wheat was 772 million tons, with a forecast of 2019 production at 766 million tons, making it the second most produced cereal after maize. Since 1960, world production of wheat and other grain crops has tripled and is expected to grow further through the middle of the 21st century. Global demand for wheat is increasing due to the unique viscoelastic and adhesive properties of gluten proteins, which facilitate the production of processed foods, whose consumption is increasing as a result of the worldwide industrialization process and the westernization of the diet. Top wheat-producing countries. As the world's largest producer of wheat, China plays an important role in shaping grain market dynamics across the world. Around 126 million metric tons of wheat are produced by the country per year, on a land area of 24 million hectares. Wheat serves as one of the staple foods of the Chinese population, accounting for 40% of the grain consumption in this country. Wheat is cultivated extensively in the Yellow River and Huai River valleys of China, where the crop is rotated with maize. Meanwhile, along and around the Yangtze River Valley, it is instead more commonly rotated with rice. India is the second largest producer of wheat with an average of 98,510,000 tons annually. Wheat is the second most important cultivated food crop in India after rice and feeds hundreds of millions of Indians on a daily basis. It is an especially important staple food in the northern and northwestern states of the country, such as near the Pakistani border. India accounts for about 8.7% of the total wheat production in the world, and 13% of all cultivated land in India is dedicated to cultivation of this crop. Russia is the third largest wheat producer in the world and was among the top 5 wheat exporting countries in the world with an average of 85,863,132 tons per annum. Winter wheat is the primary variety of wheat grown in the country. The crop is mostly raised in the western parts of Russia surrounding Moscow. The crop is planted between August and the first week of October, and harvested between July and August the following year. Wheat, the principal cereal grain of the United States, is grown all over the country. Around 47 million tons of wheat are produced in the USA, which ranks fourth in the world in terms of quantity of wheat produced, and ranking often switching in recent years between the US and Russia, currently in third place. France is the largest producer of wheat in Europe and the fifth largest producer in the world, with this crop being cultivated throughout the country with 36,924,938 tons on average per year. Top wheat-consuming countries. Globally, wheat imported during 2020 generated a total of $47.4 billion in international purchases. The overall value of imported wheat for all buying countries rose by an average of 13.7% since 2016, when the world's tally for wheat purchases equaled $41.7 billion. From 2019 to 2020, the global bill paid for imported wheat accelerated by 7.5%. The 5 biggest buyers of wheat, which are Egypt, Indonesia, Turkey, China, and Nigeria, purchased a quarter, or about 25.2% of overall wheat imports in 2020. Among continents, Asian countries accounted for the highest dollar worth of overall wheat imported during 2020, with purchases valued at $20.3 billion, or 42.9% of the global total. In second place were African importers at 27.2%, while 17.7% of worldwide wheat imports were delivered to Europe. Smaller percentages of 8.5% arrived in Latin America, excluding Mexico but including the Caribbean. North America got 3% and Oceania got 0.8%, led by New Zealand and Australia. The fastest growing markets for wheat since 2019 were China up by 150.8%, Nigeria up by 62.3%, Morocco up by 48.2%, and Italy up by 12.1%. Those countries that posted declines in their imported wheat purchases were led by the Netherlands, which was down by -15.8%, Spain down by -12.8%, Egypt down by -10.9%, and Brazil down by 9.9%. Top wheat importing countries. Egypt was placed in the first position among the countries that made the most wheat imports in 2019, according to statistics from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. In the last 2 seasons, External purchases of wheat in Egypt averaged 12.6 million tons, then followed by Indonesia with an average of 11 million tons and Turkey with 7.3 million tons on average. Other countries with the most wheat imports were Brazil, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Algeria, Japan, Morocco, and Mexico. According to FAO, world wheat trade including wheat flour and wheat equivalent in the 2020 to 2021 season July to June is likely to reach a record level of 177.5 million tons, 1.4% more than in 2019 to 2020. The increase in imports into Europe, which partly reflects the inclusion of trade flows between the EU27 and the UK from 2020 to 2021, explains most of the apparent growth in world trade in this basic grain. FAO also believes that higher demand for imports from various countries in Asia and North Africa will contribute to the expansion. Concerns about the possible extension of wheat export restrictions mostly abated, and the initial outlook for 2020 to 2021 assumes that there are no new COVID-19 related obstacles affecting trade flows. In Europe, total wheat imports in 2020 to 21 are forecast to reach almost 9 million tons, 2.5 million tons more than in 2019 to 2020. However, all this expansion is associated with higher imports from the EU27, 1 million tons more than in 2019 to 2020 due to a likely decrease in total production this year, and expected wheat imports of 2 million tons. Tons by the UK, which as of 2020 to 2021 is excluded from total EU imports and therefore includes purchases from EU countries. Top wheat exporting countries. Worldwide wheat exports by country totaled an estimated $44.8 billion in 2020, up by 22.8% for international wheat sales since 2016 when global wheat exports were valued at $36.5 billion. Year over year, the value of global wheat exports increased by 10.7% from 2019 to 2020. The three biggest wheat exporters, which are Russia, United States, and Canada, provide almost half or 45.8% of the overall value of exports for the nourishing cereal food. From a continental perspective, European countries supplied over half of worldwide wheat exports during 2020 with shipments amounting to $25.5 billion or 56.9% of total global sales. Home to two leading wheat shipping neighbors, which are Canada and United States, North American exporters furnished 28.3% worth of wheat sold on international markets. Oceania was responsible for 6% of wheat exports by value, ahead of Latin America excluding Mexico but including the Caribbean at 5.3%. Smaller percentages came from Asia with 3.3% and Africa with 0.2%. Among the top exporters, the fastest growing wheat suppliers from 2019 to 2020 were Poland, which was up by 142.4%, Germany up by 66.4%, Lithuania up by 36%, and Latvia up by 32.6%. Those countries that posted declines in their exported wheat sales were Bulgaria, which was down by -26.2%, Romania was down by -25.4%, Argentina was down by -13.6%, and Ukraine was down by -1.7%. As of the time of making this video, the average value of the commodity is around $170.12 per metric ton. Please bear in mind that these prices are subject to fluctuations depending on the demand and supply. Thanks for watching this video. We are open to suggestions. Kindly drop your comments in the comment box and don't forget to subscribe to the Big Man Business YouTube channel. See you in the next video.